Hello and welcome to the episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Friday, October 27th. It is a Football Friday podcast here today on the channel. Hope everybody is doing well. We've got a lot to get into today on the show. We'll be breaking down the upcoming week number 8 in the NFL season. A big one for the New York Jets, a big one for the New York Giants, as the Battle of New York will take place this week at MetLife Stadium, 1 o'clock on Sunday, CBS. A lot of excitement, a lot of going back and forth this week amongst Jet fans, Giants fans. It's been great, and now all the hype, now all the excitement will all go into Sunday, and we'll see who walks away with the victory. I did a preview on the game yesterday with Alex. Huge thanks to him for coming on yesterday. Had a great time talking with him, so if you haven't checked it out, definitely go check it out. It was a lot of fun. We broke down Jets, Giants, and got you ready for the upcoming matchup on Sunday. We'll take a little bit of a deeper look at it again today. We'll break down the rest of the games on Sunday. We'll also get you ready for college football, another big Saturday in college football, as it is week 9. A couple big games this weekend to look out for in the top 25 in college, and we'll also get you set. Game 1 of the 2023 World Series tonight. Arizona Diamondbacks on the road against the Texas Rangers at Globe Life Park. We will see how that goes, and we'll get you my prediction as well later on for that series. But first, we'll start with my game picks as we approach Week 8 of the NFL season. It's crazy we're already here. It is already Week 8. You know, I feel like, again, I always say this all the time, but it feels like just yesterday we were sitting here talking about, the Jets facing off against the Bills on Monday night and, Aaron Rodgers and what he can do this year. And here we are, Week 8. It's been a wild year. It's been a fun year. And we're just about at the halfway point here. Very close. So overall in the season for my game picks, I am 69-37. I had a very rough week last week. I went 5-8 overall in my game picks last week, which was not good at all. This week, I went 1-0 last night, and obviously a lot more picks here to come. So technically, overall, I am 70-37, looking to bounce back as I enter Sunday. Correct pick last night, took the Bills over the Bucks, did not expect it to be 24-18. I had the Bills 27-20, but obviously, either way, got it correct, picked the Bills. They got the job done. It was a solid win for them. You almost felt like that was sort of a must-win for the Bills. Now, if they lost that game, it didn't mean their season was over. It really depends on what you count as a must-win. What is your definition of a must-win? Because, if your definition of a must-win is if you win, you're in, if you lose, you're eliminated, then that wasn't the case for the Bills. But if you feel it's an extremely important game and you feel a must-win is a game where if you want to keep your season alive, where you got to get back on the right track, well, that was the case last night for the Bills. A good win for them over the Bucks. Bucks stuck around. They made a lot of mistakes. There were some head-scratching coaching decisions by Todd Bowles, and they only lost by 6. So I guess take that as you want for the Bucks. But a rough night for them and a good win for the Bills. A nice bounce-back win for them because things would have gotten really even more interesting in the AFC East if the Bills would have fall last night, and that would have been back-to-back losses and would have been ugly for the Bills, especially especially losing back-to-back games to New England and in the Bucks and barely beating the Giants at home 2 weeks ago. Things would have been a little bit ugly. So a win for them. You felt it was big, and they got the job done. So let's get into the game picks for this week. We'll get to Jets-Giants a little bit later on, but we'll start here with the Dolphins and the Patriots. Dolphins 5-2, Patriots 2-5. Dolphins enter this one as 9.5-point home favorites. The biggest storyline coming into this game is how can the Miami Dolphins respond? Look, I'm taking the Dolphins. Even with the Patriots playing well last week, Mac Jones looking good, defeating the Buffalo Bills at home. Miami has dominated bad teams. Just because it's one win, New England is still a bad football team. They're not all of a sudden going to go on this crazy run, get to 10-7, 11-6, 9-8, and squeak into the postseason. They're still a 5-6 win team at best. One win doesn't change the trajectory of your season. Miami back home, frustrating loss. The media, again, is starting to turn on Tua and that team with the way they lost to Buffalo and the way they lost to Philly. The narrative around the team is they still can't beat good teams, but they can beat up on bad teams, and they're getting a bad team at home. I'm going to take the Miami Dolphins in this one, 27-16 Miami. cover the 9.5, get the job done at home over New England, pick up their 6th win of the season, and stay in front in the AFC East. Game number 2, Jaguars-Steelers. This one's tough. Steelers 4-2, Jaguars 5-2, Jags 2-point favorites. A very exciting AFC matchup here between these two teams. Steelers at home playing good football, got the job done last week over the Rams. They've won now 2 straight games. They took care of business against Baltimore, took care of business coming out of the bye week against the Rams. They get an opportunity here. If they can find a way to win this game on Sunday, the Steelers have an opportunity to rack up a couple more wins. They have Tennessee after that, who already got rid of Kevin Byard, might be getting rid of Derrick Henry. Their roster, they have not been playing well, and they could look a lot different by the time they play the Steelers on Thursday night of next week. And then they get Green Bay, who hasn't looked good either. So, who lost, coming off a loss against Denver. Jordan Love hasn't looked great. All those things. So there's an opportunity here for Pittsburgh. If they find a way to come out of here with a win, get the 5-2, there's a chance we're talking about Pittsburgh here in about 2 weeks at 6-3, 7-2, and looking really good, not only in the AFC North, but all in all in the AFC. So there's a lot to like there. As for the Jags, a big one here. Try and get the 6-2. Build more of that lead in the AFC, in the AFC South. It is a weak division. Jags can just completely run away with it. Although Texans have played well, they can just start to run away with the division at 5-2. This is a tough pick for me. I've bounced back and forth. I'm going to take the Steelers +2 at home here. I just think that home crowd, they've looked good. I think their defense gets it done. I haven't been overly impressed with the Jaguars this year, I'll admit. I think they've been good. I haven't been overly impressed. Steelers at home, I think they've been a lot better. They have an opportunity here to, really rack up some wins. 2 games in the next, 2 weeks here. Short week next week against Tennessee. An opportunity for the Steelers to really pick up some wins and start to put some teams on notice here as a team that can have one of the better records in the AFC. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh here over Jacksonville, +2 at home. Low scoring. Pittsburgh, +2, 23-20. They get the job done over Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, and the Jaguars in Pittsburgh. Next game, Falcons-Titans. Falcons 4-3, Titans 2-4. Atlanta 2.5-point favorites. Titans, who knows? The biggest question with them is what are they going to do once the bye week comes around on Tuesday, October 31st? What is the future of Derrick Henry? What is the future of some other pieces on that team? They've already gotten rid of Kevin Byard. There's rumors floating around that they won't trade Henry, that they will. What exactly are the Tennessee Titans going to do? What exactly is this Tennessee Titans team going to look like in the next couple weeks, as I just mentioned? It's going to be interesting. It is something that is definitely rough, tough for a team to focus and try and win and go out there and play well when all the outside noise is who's getting traded. One piece has already gone traded. They're clearly selling. They're clearly not trying to win right now. I'm taking Atlanta, picking up their 5th win of the season over the Tennessee Titans. Falcons over Tennessee on the road. I'll take the Falcons 23-13. They win by a good margin here over Tennessee. Falcons +2.5. Get the job done on the road. Texans-Panthers. The battle of top 2 picks. Bryce Young, the number 1 overall pick. C.J. Stroud, the number 2 overall pick. Although, if you're watching them play, C.J. Stroud, and this isn't anything against Bryce Young, it's just C.J. Stroud's been so good, he looks like the number 1 overall pick. Texans 3-3. Panthers trying to find a way to pick up their first win over Frank Wright, and Young trying to find a way to pick up his first win of his NFL career. The Titans enter this one as 3-point favorites on the road. I'm a little, I think there is a potential for this game to maybe be good. I think the Texans are going to run away with this one. I really do. The Panthers have been so bad. One of the bright spots has been Adam Thielen. Bryce Young's been hot, cold, up and down. I will admit, I've been very surprised that Carolina is this bad. I thought they would have a solid team this year. I thought there was a lot of things to like. A couple of areas of their team. They brought in Sanders. You hope Bryce Young could be competent or just average in his rookie year. You had Thielen, who you brought in. You've got some other pieces. You look at their defense, headlined by Brian Burns. They've got some pieces. It's just that it hasn't worked out. And you hope it's just year 1 with a rookie quarterback, year 1 with a new coach. It's growing pains. But 0-6 is 0-6. no matter which way you could put it. You could load up the excuses. At the end of the day, it's a result-driven business. If this team doesn't start to win eventually and start to show some promise this year, there's going to be problems. I'm going to take Houston. I'm very high on Houston. I think they're going to be a team that's going to be playing the meaningful games in December. They've looked really good. C.J. Stroud's been great. Give me the Texans, 24-13, win by 11 over Carolina. Texans +3 on the road. Rams, Cowboys. Cowboys 4-2, Rams 3-4. Dallas, 6-point favorites. Rams struggling here. You thought that they were able to kind of weather the storm early in the season without Cooper Kupp. Puka Nacua was great. And now you look at where they're at. They've lost 2 of their last 3. They just fell at home against the Steelers. They now have got to hit the road against a Cowboys team coming off of a Monday night victory over the Chargers. It's an interesting spot here for the Rams. Again, they're a 2-4 team or a 3-4 team. They've got to watch out. Their season here, they got to start picking up some wins. They've got to, if they can hang around that 500 mark, they give themselves a chance on the road in Dallas. You don't love their chances. We'll see what Dallas can do. We'll see what the Cowboys can do here at home. They look good prior to that. They look good in their last matchup on Monday or 2 Monday nights ago now, again, or whatever it is, against the Chargers. I'm going to take the Cowboys here at home. Rams just haven't looked great. Again, it seems like the Rams are towards the end of, they went all in for a championship 2 years ago. They weren't the same last year, dealt with injuries, not quite the same this season. Give me the Cowboys at home. I'll take Dallas. 27-23. Dallas, or 27-20. Dallas covers the 6, gets the job done. Next up, we got the Packers and the Vikings. Packers 2-4, Vikings 3-4. 1.5-point favorites. Man, what a absolute performance. Dominant performance from Kirk Cousins and Jordan Addison on Monday night against the Niners to take down Brock Purdy and the Niners and force them. They were undefeated 2 weeks ago. They've now lost 2 straight. We'll get to the Niners and Bengals here in a little bit. But the Vikings looked good. That is the best Kirk Cousins has played on primetime in a long time. And you could say maybe that Thursday night matchup earlier this year against the Eagles, but he didn't come away with the win in that one. This one, he actually came away with the win. Packers are fresh off of a loss in Denver against the Broncos. Some late turnovers late hurt them. Packers are reeling. They've lost back-to-back games against the Raiders and the Broncos. They also obviously got blown out before, obviously a little while ago back on Thursday night against the Lions. Packers haven't won a game in over a month. That's the reality. Last time they won was over the Saints 18-7. It has been a rough year for the Packers. They've lost 3 straight. Jordan Love's made a lot of mistakes. They've lost 2 games against the Raiders and the Broncos, 2 teams that you think they should be better than. They're reeling. It's not looking good. I'm going to take the Vikings. They looked really good last week. I'm hopping on the Kirk Cousins train this week. Let's see what he can do. Let's see if he can build on that primetime performance. Give me Minnesota over Green Bay on the road. Minnesota 1.5. I have them covering. 23-17 Vikings over Green Bay. Saints, Colts. Saints 3-4. Colts 3-4. New Orleans, a small 1-point road favorite. I'm shocked by this line. I really am. I thought the Colts would come into this one 2.5-point favorites, which probably tells you the direction I am going in. I'm going to take Indy, Gardner Minshew, and the Colts in this one. This Colts team, you can make a really good case. They should be 4-3 right now. Last week was a brutal loss. Those penalties late were definitely questionable. I think a lot of people had issues with them. Came down to the last second. P.J. Walker and the Browns win their second straight game. They beat, obviously, the Niners. Took care of business now against the Colts last week. The Colts are in a position. They've been very competitive. I was down on the Colts to start the year. I was very down on the Colts. I thought they would be one of the worst teams in football. I wasn't very high on Anthony Richardson. I didn't love the owner. Don't love the whole coaching situation. I had a lot of questions with Indy. And they've been great. You wondered how the skill position guys, you had the whole Jonathan Taylor situation. There was a lot going on. But the fact that this team is 3-4 and they've been competitive in pretty much every single game this year, tells you that you gotta like where you're at if you're a Colts fan. Even with the loss last week, they've got some games coming up. If they can find a way to win this one and get to 4-4, Indy's got some games coming up that are winnable. Carolina, New England, Tampa, Tennessee. they've got some chances here coming up. And this is a game, too. A 3-4 Saints team that has been a lot worse if you watch them. Even though they have the same record, the Saints have looked a lot worse than the Colts. And they're still competitive with Gardner Minshew. So I'm going to take the Colts here at home. I think if you're a betting man, you got to take the Colts. I think they're going to beat the Saints. Saints as road favorites with the way the Colts have been in every single game. Give me the Colts +1 all day long. I'll take Gardner Minshew and the Indianapolis Colts 27-20. Win by a touchdown over the New Orleans Saints. Colts get the win. Next up here, Eagles, Commanders. Eagles 6-1, Commanders 3-4. Eagles a touchdown favorite. Give me Philly. I mean, they were good last week against Miami. They beat them up. You could tell they were frustrated coming off of that Jet loss. Took care of business on prime time. Now they head to Washington. The only way Washington I could see winning this game is if you get Philly in a trap game, which is possible. Philly's got like 4-5 really big games coming up. I mean, you look at Philly's remaining schedule coming up here. They've got a lot. After this game, it gets exciting. Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, Dallas, Seattle. So maybe if you're a Eagles fan, maybe you're a little concerned. This could be a trap game before they play Dallas at home next week, division rival, coming off a big win on primetime. Could this be a trap game? Yes, but Washington, I liked Washington early in the year. I liked a lot of what I saw out of them, but recently they've kind of just, if we're being honest, recently they've fallen off. They're very inconsistent. I was thinking, after that Eagles game where they pushed them all the way to the end of that game, you were thinking, man, this team is all right. And then they lost to the Bears. They beat the Falcons, on a late interception against Ritter in Atlanta. And then they lost last week to the Giants. Like, they've been so inconsistent. They're not the better team here. Philly's the better team. Even it being a trap game, I'll say Washington covers the 7. I think it might be closer. I'll take Philly 24-20. 4-point win for Philly. I'll say they don't cover the 7 just because it could be a trap game. Washington, for some reason, played them close last time. It could be the same here. I'll take Philly. I don't think they'll cover, but I think the Eagles win. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if this is a blowout either. I really wouldn't be. But I'll put the trap game effect into play here, and I'll say Philly comes away with a slim victory on the road. Browns, Seahawks. Browns 4-2. Seahawks 4-2. Seattle 3.5-point favorites. I'll take the Seahawks. Geno Smith. Over the Cleveland Browns, who P.J. Walker has been winning them football games, which has obviously been good. Definitely something that if you're a Browns fan, you'll take. Seattle, coming off that tough loss against Cincinnati, they took care of business last week against the Cardinals, which is what they should have done. Take care of business against a Cardinals team that has not been very good this year. And for Geno Smith, try and find a way to continue to, play well, be competent, find a way to go out there, pick up a W. Seattle's been solid this season. They've found ways to win. They have found ways to, get the job done. They're 4-2. I'll take the Seahawks. They're at home. I like that aspect of it. Browns have been better. They've been playing well. Their defense is great. I'll take Seattle in a low-scoring, close game. Seahawks over Cleveland, 20-17. Browns +3.5. Seattle, though, gets the win. All right, moving on here. Ravens, Cardinals. Ravens 5-2. 9.5-point favorites against the 1-6 Arizona Cardinals. Man, what a game last week for Baltimore. I mean, Lamar Jackson and that Ravens team dominated Detroit. And I was shocked. That was one of the games that I think we all went into as football fans. We were all excited to watch. And when that game got out of hand, you were shocked because you never expected a Dan Campbell-led team to just come out and get destroyed like that. And they got manhandled from the start. Credit to Baltimore at home for being the more prepared team. It was great. It was a great win for Baltimore. They dominated from start to finish, and they took care of business. And expect the same here. Maybe there's and again, just thinking of the possibility, maybe there's a chance of a hangover here. They've got a game next week coming up again. They've got a couple big games coming up against Seattle, Cleveland, and Cincinnati. Cardinals aren't any good. they've been competitive in some of these games and a lot of these games, but I'll take Baltimore. I don't think they'll cover because the Cardinals have found ways to cover spreads this year and have been competitive. So I'll take Baltimore. I don't think they'll cover. Baltimore 30. Arizona 23. Win by a touchdown. So Arizona plus 9.5, but Baltimore will get the win. Chiefs, Broncos, another one of these rough matchups here. Kansas City 6-1, Broncos 2-5. Kansas City 7-point favorites. Another team for the Broncos, similar to Tennessee, similar to a lot of these teams, could look a whole lot different at the end of Tuesday, at the end of the trade deadline, especially if the rumors are true that they're going to head into a potential future where they're going to restart, rebuild. We've heard some rumors that potentially they're going to give an opportunity to Sean Payton to develop his own quarterback. We'll see where they fall when all is said and done. They are coming off a win, but it's the Kansas City Chiefs. They're playing their best football right now. They're getting hot. Broncos stand no chance at home, is what I'm trying to say here. Give me Kansas City, 31-17. Kansas City all over Denver on the road. Cincinnati, San Francisco. Sam Darnold, Joe Burrow. Brock Purdy out in this one with a concussion, which means Sam Darnold, the former Jet, will take over. And look, I'll start with this. Bengals, San Francisco is the 4-point home favorite. I actually think the Bengals are going to pick up the win here. I just want to make that clear, but I do want to say this. I'm rooting for Sam Darnold. I want to see Sam Darnold do well. Even the way it went with the Jets, I would love to see him go out, rejuvenate, find a way to be, competitive, go out there this week, win a game, see what he looks like in the Kyle Shanahan offense. A lot of Jet fans rooting for Sam. I'm rooting for Sam. I want to see him do well. The way it ended in New York, we don't have to rehash the whole situation with Sam Darnold. The whole Gaze-led team, the way it ended, it was ugly. It didn't work out. I'm rooting for him. I was happy when he was doing well with the Panthers there for a little while, except when he beat the Jets in Week 1 of 2021. But he was doing well with them. Obviously, it didn't fully work out. And then now with San Francisco, I'm interested. I'm rooting. I'm interested to see what he can do in the Shanahan offense. Because I'll tell you what, Shanahan might be an absolute genius if Sam Darnold goes out there on Sunday, throws for 330 yards, 4 touchdowns, and they win 31-21 over the Bengals. If Darnold goes out there and plays the game of his life, Shanahan's an absolute genius. And that's not a knock on Darnold. It's just, if Shanahan could do this with every single quarterback, outside of Trey Lance, it's crazy. So I am rooting for Darnold. I want to see him do well. I do think the Bengals are going to win this game. I don't think, even with Brock Purdy struggling, the pieces around him, I still think, there's going to be a very run-heavy McCaffrey-type game. You look to get Ayuk the ball, spread the ball around for Darnold. We'll see what he can do there. It's still his first game, still a backup against Cincinnati, who's been playing a lot better football. They're starting to find their groove. Even though they're on the road, I'm still going to take the Bengals here +4. I'll take the Bengals 27-24 +4 over the Niners. I think it'll be close. That Niners defense is great, and I still think the Bengals offense is there. It's right there. It's starting to hit its stride, but hasn't fully hit its stride. Maybe it's this week, but against a really good defense, the defense will keep it in it. I hope Sam plays well, but I'm going to take Cincinnati on the road +4 to get the win. Sunday night. This might be the worst game of the week, which a lot of times you'd rather say that when you're going through the 1 o'clock Eastern games over the Sunday night game, but here we are. Sunday night, Chargers-Bears, a brutal matchup. 2-4 Chargers against the 2-5 Bears. These two teams are a combined 4-9. It's the Tyler Bagent versus Justin Herbert show, which I guess is intriguing, but Herbert didn't play that well last week, and Bagent, it's a great story, D2, all that great stuff. He was just the game manager. Dante Foreman, I believe, went out there and scored 3 rushing touchdowns. So we'll see. Even though on the outside this game looks terrible, this is a massive game for the Chargers. You can't lose in your home building to the Chicago Bears. They haven't looked good. The Chargers have been bad. But this potentially could be it for Brandon Staley. If the Chargers go out there on Sunday night. So again, for the fans out there that are not looking forward to this game, because I'll be honest, this is not a good game. This is not a very good Sunday night matchup. This could be the last straw, though, for Brandon Staley. If the Chargers go out there and lose to Tyler Bagent, Matt Eberflus, and the Chicago Bears at home on primetime, and it's a 7-10 touchdown, 2-score game, Brandon Staley might be out of there. And it's hugely important for the Chargers. Because the Chargers coming up, look, depending on how the Jets do next week, you're walking into a primetime game at MetLife on the road next week against the Jets. And if the Jets win this week, that environment's going to be crazy. And then after that, you got Detroit. And even with Detroit struggling, or last week, Detroit's still fine. You could be looking at a situation, now they do get, if they lose this game, you could be looking at a situation where they're staring at 2-6, 2-3-6, 2-7 in the next couple weeks, where it could completely go off the rails. I think this is a must-win for the Chargers. We talked a little bit about it earlier. Was last night a must-win for the Bills? I think in some cases it was. It was a big win. They needed that win at home against the Bucs. Bills are the more talented team coming off a loss. You had to win that game. You couldn't let it slide any further. But this is a must-win. You cannot lose to the Bears on primetime in your home building. So we'll see. I'm going to take the Chargers. I think if the Bears, I still don't, look, on the road, Bears, the Chargers are the more talented team. They're the better team. I think they'll win. It's a big game. It's a big game for the Chargers. Again, for the outside perspective, it doesn't look great, but for the Chargers, it's hugely important. You lose this game, things really start to go off the rails. Brandon Staley's walking on thin ice right now. This game goes south, and it's a blowout, and Herbert looks bad again, he might not have a job by Monday. So we'll see. So I'll take the Chargers. They are 8.5-point favorites. I think it's going to be a lopsided game. I think this is going to be a get-right game for the Chargers before they have two big games coming up against the Jets and the Lions. Get them back into 3-4. Give them a chance over the next 2 weeks to make up some more ground against some solid teams. So we'll see. But I'll take the Chargers. Get-right game. Chargers 27, Bears 17. Chargers cover the 8.5, get the job done. All right, so Jets, Giants, the Battle of New York, rivals collide, and, it's certainly something that is talked about a lot this week. Jets, Giants, the rivalry, the Battle of New York. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. For the Giants, they look to pick up their first win in the last, or they haven't won since the 2011 Victor Cruz play. The New York Jets won it in 2015 with the Brandon Marshall touchdown that we all remember. And then obviously the Jets were able to pick up a win there, the first year of Todd Bowles. And then they won it again in 2019, the game where Jamal Adams stole Daniel Jones's lunch from him, middle of that game. And strip-sacked him, ripped the ball right out of his hand, took it to the house. So the Jets have had some recent success against the Giants. We'll see if they can continue that here. Jets are 3-3, Giants 2-5, 1 Eastern CBS. Jets 3-point favorites over under 35.5. I'll have my full Jets-Giants preview tomorrow on my In the Trench with Gang Green podcast. That'll be tomorrow morning. We'll be breaking down the keys, what the Jets need to do, the roadmap to victory. We'll get you all that tomorrow. But as a general overview for this game for both these teams, look, it's a big matchup. It's the Battle of New York. I think both these teams are going to come out with a lot of aggression. I think both these teams are going to come out with a lot of energy. It's going to be hard-hitting. As much as these players, and you like the mindset from a lot of these players, you've heard a lot from some of the Jets guys this week about, it's just another game. All the coaches say it. As much as these players say that, this is a little bit extra. It means a little bit more. To the fans, to the players, to the organizations, when two crosstown rivals meet, it always means a little bit more in any sport. It's especially special in football because the Jets and Giants really only meet every 4 years unless if they meet in the Super Bowl, which with the way these two teams have been the last decade, that hasn't even come close. So that's what makes it a little bit more special, unlike, but anytime, even the Mets Yankees, right? Subway Series, New York, those two games, those 4 games, the two different sets at Yankee Stadium and Citi Field are always awesome. Those 2 days going back and forth with the fans are great. The energy at those games are awesome. They're amazing. No matter how good or bad the teams are, they're always a lot of fun. Rangers, Islanders, Knicks, Nets is always a lot of fun, right? All those things. Now, Knicks, Nets was even a lot more fun because when Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were there, obviously, that ended up exploding, as we all know. But anytime crosstown rivals in any city match, it's exciting, it's awesome, it's a lot of fun. For the Jets' perspective, I've said this a lot. I've said it all week. The New York Jets should win this game. I think they're the more talented team on paper. I think they're the overall better team. They've played better. They're 3-3. They're the better record. A lot better things are going for the Jets. I think a lot of what the Jets do well, the Giants do not do well. I think for the Jets, you got to get after the Giants' offensive line, that fierce pass rush, that deep pass rush. Got to get to Tyrod Taylor. Got to get to the quarterback. He'll be starting. Was announced a little bit earlier today. You get pressure on him because teams haven't gotten much pressure on Tyrod Taylor. The offensive line has played better the last 2 weeks with him. So you give him time, he's going to make some throws. He led them to victory last week. He's been a lot better than Daniel Jones. He's utilized his legs. He's made the easy throws. He's reading the defense. He's a veteran. The Jets have seen a lot of Tyrod Taylor over the years, most recently in 2021 against the Houston Texans. We'll see what they can do this time. Offensively, it's going to be Zach Wilson against the Giants blitz. And for the Giants, look, I think the best case for the Giants is you catch the Jets sleeping early on. The Jets have fell down a lot in games. If the Giants, for them, you blitz the heck out of Zach Wilson and, force him into a mistake, force him into a turnover, hurt him early, I don't mean it that way. Meaning hurt his confidence early on, rather. Hurt his confidence, force him into a turnover, stuff like that. That's your roadmap to victory. Utilizing that, taking advantage of that, putting points up, and putting the Jets down early where they're pressing late in games. That's what teams need to do against the Jets. So we'll see. I ultimately do think the Jets win this game. As I mentioned, they're the better football team. I think a lot of people would agree with that. At the end of the day, the only way I see the New York Jets losing this game is not going to be lack of talent. It's not going to be that. It's not going to be lack of talent. It's going to be if they're not prepared and if they're not focused. Because we've seen this Jet team in the Robert Saleh era come out of bye weeks and struggle. They're 0-2 in Robert Saleh's era coming out of bye weeks, right? Year 1, they got crushed against New England. Year 2, they lost last year, obviously, on that heartbreaker in New England. You get it to Giants. That Philly win, way in the rear view. Bye week, reset, come out, win this game. The New York Jets win this game because I do feel like this is a game where I just want to come away with a victory. I don't care if it's 3-0. Come away with the victory. I don't care if it's ugly. This is going to be a low-scoring game. It's a trap game for the Jets. It really is. Because you've got a primetime matchup next week against a team that's winnable. You got a Sunday night matchup the week after that against a team that's beatable. The Jets can really get this. The Jets realistically can be 6-3 going into Buffalo in a couple of weeks. It starts now. The only way I see the Jets losing this game is if they're not prepared. And that's coaching. Robert Saleh, Hackett, Ulbrich, all these guys have got to have all units ready. Go out there. Do not take the Giants lightly. They're going to come out with a lot of energy. They're playing for their season too. Look, the Giants win this game. They get the Raiders next week. They win that game. They're 4-5. You start to feel good. And then after that, they got some teams coming up. They got the Cowboys, which is tough. But then you have Washington. You got New England. You got Green Bay. You got the Saints. The Giants' schedule loosens up. So they look at this game too and say, hey, we win this game. We can make up some ground. We can get back in the conversation. You're not just going to get some terrible 1-5, 1-6, 2-5 team. You're going to get a team that looks at their schedule and says, hey, it starts now. We got the win last week. We got to continue to build on that. They're at home. No, it's technically a Giant home game, although I think it'll be probably 50-50. Jets are the more talented team. Give me the Jets. Let's go. Jets 17-14. Got them covering the 3. I'll take the Jets. ESPN Analytics matchup predictors giving the Jets a 77.2% chance of winning. They're giving the Giants a 22.6% chance of winning. I believe the Jets should and will win this game. Let's go. Change the narrative. The narrative around this team is they always come up small in the big moments. It's a big moment. Starting the second half of the season, coming out of the bye week. For Saleh, it's huge. Last year, you were in this position, and it flailed out. You got a lot of praise. You have gotten a lot of praise from the media, a lot of praise from the fans. It's great. Biggest win of your coaching career against Philly. Now take advantage against the crosstown rivals. Give me the Jets 17-14. I'll take the win. I'll take the under on the over-under of 35. I think it'll be a very low-scoring game. 35.5 is the over-under. I'll take the under on that, and I'll take the Jets over the Giants on Sunday. So again, picks, Jets winning, Dolphins winning, Steelers winning, Falcons winning, Texans winning, Cowboys winning, Vikings winning, Eagles winning, Colts winning, Seahawks, Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals, Chargers, all getting the job done. And I'll have my pick on Monday for Lions, Raiders in Detroit. We'll get you set up for that. College football, some big games this weekend that include Oregon, Utah, 3:30 Eastern tomorrow. Top 25 matchup. Number 8 Oregon, number 8 Oregon, number 13 Utah. This is a big one. This is a very big matchup for both these teams. Utah coming off the big late game-winning field goal over USC to get the job done. Oregon coming off a get-right win over Washington State. It's a huge game. Oregon wants any chance to continue to contend for the college football playoff after losing that game against Washington. This is a must-win for Oregon tomorrow in Utah. And Utah can get right in that conversation with a win over Oregon tomorrow. So we'll see how that all plays out. Duke, Louisville is another good game, top 25 matchup as well. Just something to keep an eye on. USC will look to get right over Cal. They probably will. USC's probably got no chance of, their chances of making the playoffs are out, but look to get right there. Tennessee against Kentucky, 7 Eastern tomorrow. And UCLA, top-ranked UCLA against Prime and Colorado. So we'll see how all that plays out tomorrow. You got Ohio State coming off the big win on the road in Wisconsin. Penn State coming off a loss. They'll face Indiana at home. You'll get Georgia on the road against Florida. See if they can hold up at number 1 in the nation. So a couple big games tomorrow to look out for in college football. And then a great day of college football leads into hopefully a great day and a successful day for the New York Jets on Sunday. And the World Series will open up tomorrow. I mean, I'll say this, and we'll end it here in a little bit, but I'll say this. I mean, man, I had the Phillies winning it all this year. I was shocked when they blew that series. I thought that series was over when they were up 2-0. I will say this. I knew the Diamondbacks were going to win that series right after Game 3. When the Diamondbacks won the way they did in Game 3, I had a feeling, this series is going to take a turn. Anytime a team wins like that, and I know it happened in Game 1, where you had the in the Brave series, where 5-game series, obviously they tied it up 1-1 at Atlanta. Philly went back to Citizens Bank and ended up winning the next 2, winning in 4. But I knew that series was going to be. I still had a feeling the Phillies would win that series even after that game where they lost, and the Bryce Harper base running mistake and all that stuff, and the attaboy Harper. It actually ended up fueling Phillies because I think the attaboy Harper thing, then the next game he ended up staring down, Orlando Arcia, and I think he actually ended up helping the Phillies and actually hurting the Braves more than anything. But this was different. Phillies, I think, got a little bit overconfident. You heard the backup catcher say, we're going to be swimming in that pool after the Diamondbacks had the celebration after winning the NLDS over the Dodgers. Once they won that game, I had a feeling, this series is over. I had a feeling this series was going to turn. Like, I did not think that the Phillies, I at least thought, hey, this game's going, Diamondbacks are going to, they're going to force this thing back to Philly. I knew that was not going to be a one game, Phillies win the next 2. Because the way they won it, they took some of that, they seemed to find a recipe. For the rest of that series, the Phillies could not hit, even in the Game 6 win, or Game 5 win. It reminded me a lot of, and I have I have a lot of experience for this sports fan, but it reminded me a lot of sitting there, because I was rooting for the Phillies. I always jump on a team during the postseason. I was rooting for if the Yankees aren't in it, and usually the Yankees always lose in the ALCS. This year they didn't decide to even show up in the postseason and not even qualify, not even get in. But it reminded me a lot of when New York Rangers last year, who have been playing great. And if you haven't checked it out, check out my Talking Rangers podcast with me and Joe. We've been doing it so far this season. It's been a lot of fun. Episodes after each week. It's episodes every week, along with highlights of each game, all that great stuff. So definitely go check that out. I'd appreciate it if you could. But it reminded me a lot of the Rangers last year against the Devils, where they went on the road, they won 2 games. A little bit different because Philly won the first 2 at home, but they dominated games 1 and 2. Philly dominated game 1 and 2. They outscored the Diamondbacks 15-2 in games 1 and 2. 10-0 in the second game. And they dominated. And then they lose that game, and it took so much wind out of their souls. And it reminded me a lot of that Rangers-Devils series last year, where the Rangers dominated games 1 and 2. Dougie Hamilton sunk that overtime winner in Game 3. Right when he hit that overtime winner, I knew that series was going to shift. because it took so much energy out of the Rangers' souls. They ended up winning Game 6 back at Madison Square Garden. They went into Game 7, didn't even show up. It reminded me a lot of that. I was like, man, this is going to hurt the Phillies. So Rangers, Diamondbacks, I was happy to see the Rangers. Adolis Garcia is awesome. I'm going to take him for World Series MVP. I'm going to take the Rangers here. Diamondbacks are a feisty, tough team. I think they'll push this series to 6. I thought they would get swept. I did not think they would even have a chance, so I think they'll push it to 6. I could see them potentially winning 2 of 3 at home, or maybe splitting in Texas. Maybe tomorrow night or maybe tonight they catch Texas sleeping a little bit and they go out and pick up a win. But Jordan Montgomery's been great. I like, Nathan Eovaldi. Jordan Montgomery's been great headlining that rotation. You got Zach Gallion tonight against Eovaldi, Adolis Garcia. This Texas Rangers team, I picked them to win the World Series a couple days ago, even before the series was over against the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. The way the Phillies were playing, I no longer thought that they would win the World Series. So I'm going to take the Rangers here in 6 games. Adolis Garcia is awesome. He's a lot of fun to watch. He's good for the game, brings a lot of energy, brings a lot of excitement, intensity. I'll take the Texas Rangers in 6 to be your 2023 World Series champions. And Bruce Bochy will get another ring to his resume. So that's my prediction there for the MLB World Series. And that'll do it. Tomorrow, college football. Tonight, World Series. More World Series throughout the weekend. NFL on Sunday. It's October, almost the end of October. A lot going on. An exciting time of year, as always. Let's go, Jets. Pick up the win. I'll have my Jets vs. Giants preview pod tomorrow on In the Trench with Gang Green, so stay tuned for that. And we'll be back on Monday recapping another great weekend full of action. So that'll do it. See you on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. As always, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.